Post-match chat with Chapz for that Millwall podcast where it finished at the Bet365 Stadium. Stoke City 0, Millwall 1. And that is the definition, my friends, of winning ugly, isn't it? I mean, backs to the wall, scoring with our only shot on target. And you ask yourself, how do we win that game? Well, we won that game because we have resilience and character in abundance. And this team don't know when they're beaten. And Stoke City, for all of the players they've got and all the pretty passing they sort of played around in front of us, they couldn't hit a barn door. And that is, you put those two things together, and that is how we ended up winning this game 1-0. So let's get into it. Another superb performance in many ways. I can't help but start to get excited now. And this is us as Millwall. You just can't help it now, right? It's getting to the stage where we've got a real chance of being in the playoffs. And I would say our best chance for a long time. But yeah, let's get into it. So, in terms of the team that started the match, so a couple of surprise absentees again. Maybe not a couple, maybe one. Watmore was the obvious one. So Watmore not in the squad. Therefore, he comes out of the starting lineup versus, obviously, against Burnley. He started that game. Burke still not fit enough to be available for the squad. And Adomu Maku, who came on, also ill. So a threadbare squad, even worse, which is the key takeout, I think. And that essentially meant that Bradshaw, who we now know has multiple injuries, and he had no choice but to start. And he played virtually 90 minutes, and we'll come on to that in a moment. But so the key changes were Vogie moved out to the wide instead of Watmore, and Bradshaw comes in and plays in the central striking position. On the subs bench, with obviously Bradshaw coming in, that meant that Sebastian, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, Drod? I don't know how to pronounce his name, came in. And I am not one of these people that try and claim that I know something. If I don't, I know nothing about the lad. Obviously, all I know is he's one of our highly rated younger players. Not sure his position or how good he is. But it's great just from, a sort of youth standpoint that these players are being entrusted to come into the squad. So a very, very thin squad where you've got the likes of him and SA as our only sort of attacking options on the bench. And when you look at that, and then you have Stoke, and I know they had no Campbell, who's a real key player for them. They have the likes of Sam Clucas on the bench. It's just, again, you look at that, and the money and the squad size is just night and day. But I actually think, and I'll come on to this a little bit later, that our small squad size is potentially helping us. So with a continuity and a togetherness standpoint. So we'll come on to that in a moment. So first of all, I'm going to get this in early because I'm going to see if it makes a difference. I really appreciate everyone's comments, likes, shares, whatever, and some of the nice comments that you guys have been putting in the chats. In the comment section on YouTube. Honestly, it means the world. So thank you very, very much. As I say, this is just a bit of fun, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. So that's all this is. So yeah, please do like and comment on this video. It really helps the channel. So thank you very much. Thought I'd get there nice and early. So we kick off the game, and the first 10 minutes, if we can just isolate that, we go 1-0 up. Quite quickly into the game, and it all starts from a superb couple of challenges from George Saville. Honestly, he does what he does, and he does it so well. He really does. He's just such a leader. Honestly, we'll get into him in a minute, but a superb sort of challenge from Sav. Releases the ball to Vogie. Vogie plays it through to Fleming, who picks the ball up just inside their half, literally, and he just drives at them. And he drives, and they back off. And, you could say, why are they not trying to step in and make the challenge? But he does it with such sort of confidence, and he just drives at the defence, and he gets to a stage where the kind of goal just opens up. And he just almost sort of calmly, and this is the thing about him, just inside around the sort of 18-yard box, he's got such a calming presence and good decision-making most of the time, that what he able to do is essentially just pass it into the back of the net. And it's a superb finish. And we find ourselves 1-0 up. And we know how good we are when we're 1-0 up. And Stoke have also got a habit of conceding early first goals. So you look at those two things and it's a great start for us, right? And it's like, okay, well, what happens now? Because for me, quite early on in the game, we looked tired. And I don't blame the players at all. They are running on empty. It's the same 11-12 that are being recycled game after game after game against the top sides, obviously Burnley and Sheffield United. So we just looked leggy. And then literally, I would say, and yeah, we had our moments, and I'm not going to go into each and every single moment because I want to talk a bit more about some of our players, but it was backs to the wall stuff for the majority of the rest of the game. Let's be honest. They had a goal disallowed rightly in the first half. And they ended the game. And as I say, I'm not going to go into the whole... There's no point because I would literally just be talking about Stoke playing football for 80 minutes and them completely wasting a load of chances. So there's no point me talking about that in any great detail. And I think for Stoke fans, if you're listening, for me, a pattern that I've noticed with you this season is that when you've had more of the ball, you've struggled to get points. When you're playing more as a counter-attacking team, like you did against Swansea, for example, you're better. And I almost thought that might suit us going into the game because I knew we were going to give you the ball, and you're unable to break us down. Essentially, we play with a low block, and you couldn't work us out. And especially when we switched to a back five in the second half, it looked comfortable, and you ended up only with 3 shots on target the whole game, Stoke, with 72% possession, the home side, all of the ball, but you just couldn't hit a barn door. And I think it's just your play in the final third. Some of the decision making, there was one, and I'm going off on a tangent here, but this is also related to Millwall. Bertrand Salina, I've never liked him as a player, and I've never particularly rated him. There was once in the second half where you've had the ball for about 20 passes and you're playing all this nice stuff in front of us, blah, blah, blah. It comes to him, he's about 35 yards out and he just takes a shot, aimlessly goes miles over the bar. That would not happen at Millwall. It just wouldn't, because we don't recruit players like that. And I know I'm being generalised and Stoke fans are probably saying, yeah, all right, mate, Rowett signed similar players in the past. But honestly, look at our 1-11 yesterday. We don't recruit players like that. And to me, that plays into the togetherness, which I'll talk a little bit about later. But going back to the game, essentially backs to the wall for 80 minutes. But we got the job done. And we end up seeing it out. Long doesn't really have many saves to make. So as much as it was backs to the wall, in terms of clear-cut chances created, not really. And I think that's testimony to our players and the way that we defend from the front. So we win the game 1-0. We're 5th. Some results went our way yesterday. Some results didn't. Tuesday becomes absolutely massive. For me, it is not a must win. It is a must not lose for me. And I think that if we can not lose on Tuesday, that point will really help us. Because I think whoever loses Tuesday, the kind of advantage that we've got by having that game on Tuesday obviously goes out the window. So it's a real 6-pointer at a real key time. I just don't know how these players are going to go again, because they are giving absolutely everything. And it's just amazing to see. It really, really, really is. So let's talk a little bit about some of the players and some of the observations, I think. So before I talk about some individual performances, I also want to say that is the sort of game last season we would have lost. And we did lose it last season. So, for those of you that may or may not remember, we went to Stoke City last season on the back of an 8-game unbeaten streak. I'd forgotten about this until I was looking at it before the game. We went to Stoke City last season and we hadn't lost for 8 games. The game that we'd lost before that was the game that we lost at Fulham, where the scoreline flattered them. I think we lost 3-0 at Fulham, and we actually played really well. And even Fulham fans were like, this wasn't a 3-0 game. And we've gone 8 games unbeaten. And we turned up to Stoke and we lost 2-0 last season. So that is a perfect example. And that is what I start to believe, because you're like, with everything against us, we've now gone and somehow got 3 points. It was a bit like Coventry last season. Everything was against us and then we go there and won. But anyway, so it was a game we would have lost last season and we did. So this season it's just fantastic. And I think Stoke fans will know this. Their form coming into this wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I think they'd won 2, drawn 2 and lost 1 of the last 5. And they actually should have beaten Blackpool as well. So their form wasn't bad. And if you actually look at how they've been playing some decent stuff. And they have got some good players. Ben Pearson, Josh Laurent, superb players at this level. And I won't have anything said about... They are. Factually, they are. I don't know what's happened to Dwight Gale, by the way. And I like Alex Neil as a manager, but his persistence with Dwight Gale this season has been a bit odd, I have to say. So for any Stoke fans listening, would love to get your view on it. I know Campbell wasn't fit, but yes. But is this a sign of a promotion-winning team? Possibly. And let's go through the players. So Long didn't have much to do yesterday, but what he did, I thought he did well. So Long had a decent game. The back 4 were all brilliant. But I want to call out, there's 3 players I'm going to call out in the course of this video, and 2 of them in the back 4. So Danny Mack and Murray Wallace, I thought were really, really good. Didn't put a foot wrong. I also want to call out the fact that they both had to change to a back 5 and adapted to that. So, again, the motor to go up and down the pitch, just superb. I absolutely love both of those players, and I think they've done superbly. But I want to call out Jake Cooper and Charlie Cresswell, because Charlie Cresswell obviously has had his fair share of knockers, and he's made his fair share of mistakes. There's no denying it. And I said in my last video, he's 21 years old. He's going to make mistakes. But I thought he was outstanding yesterday. Again, and I think he has been really, really good. Other than that one cock-up against Sheff U, I think he's been brilliant. Was it Sheff U or Burnley? Sorry. That one cock-up, I think he's been brilliant in the last sort of few weeks and rightly kept his place yesterday. And for me, should keep his place on Tuesday. I would love to sign him. It ain't going to happen. Seriously, I've seen a lot on Twitter. Leeds are going to want 4 or 5 million for him, and they might even come down themselves. And then if that happens, then he's going to be in their first team. So it ain't going to happen. So just enjoy the lad being here. He loves it. He gets it. His post-match interview yesterday, we were talking about how much the fans mean to the players. And even done his little moo. he loves it, and I'm really pleased that he's starting to find a bit of consistency with his form, because I think he's got a lot of talent, and you got to understand he's got probably at least 10 years of playing, in his prime, so to speak. So I thought he was outstanding yesterday. And Jake Cooper. Now I've always said, and am I going to go back on this? I'm not sure. I've always said he's not a leader. I have to say his performances in the last month or 2 have actually been of a leader, but just in a slightly different way. He leads, it's a little bit like Hutch. He leads by example. He does things that I think we just now expect of him. The amount of times that a corner will come in or a cross will come in, and Cresswell did this as well, by the way, and you just expect him to head it away. Now, we shouldn't expect that, because not every other team has that. But he has just become so reliable, so consistent. And dare I say it, it's the first time in his Millwall career where he has played consecutive games without Hutch and still performed at those high levels. Because always before, when Hutch wasn't there, he's dropped off. And I have to say, I think he's been outstanding. He's a couple of games away, I think, from 250 appearances, or he's a couple of games just after. Either way, it's a bloody lot of appearances for us. His contract is up at the end of next season, I believe. And Bill from Rangers has talked about him, saying that they're interested in him. So I really hope we can keep him and that he ends up retiring here, because I honestly think, and I don't use this term lightly, if he does that and he signs a new contract, he's 28 now, say he stays with us till he's 32, 33 years old, that's another 5 seasons. He's so consistent, he's never injured. He plays every minute of every game. He will end up being a Millwall legend. And I don't use that term lightly. So I really hope that's the case. I think he's been brilliant. And I think he's And I will admit it, I think he's been underappreciated even from myself at times. So I thought Coops yesterday was outstanding, and a real captain's performance. I thought Saville and Shaq, again, were good. They were busy. They did what they had to do. The thing is that when we're playing like this, their game, and the same for the forward line, it just all becomes about being defensive. So you can't really say anything about their sort of forward looking and how they, their influence going forwards, because we didn't really have anything yesterday. But each game goes by, I think Sav is just what he offers his team is just outstanding. I don't think anyone else can do it. And I thought Shaq was equally as good yesterday. Fleming had a good game. He scored a superb goal, and he's a match winner, and that's what he was yesterday. He won us the game because of a bit of brilliance. He's a class above, and 1.7 million I think we paid for him is outstanding business. If you take football aside, that's a 1.7 million pound investment that already he's at least, and I'm being really conservative here, he's trebled that at least. So what a superb bit of business, and fair play to the club for getting that done. And then the front three. So I'm going to talk about them collective, and then I'm going to talk about one person individual. So Bradshaw actually did have a good chance in the second half. It was a superb block from Ben Wilmot, who I thought was one of Stoke's better players yesterday. It was typical us, set piece, locked up, Cooper flicked it on, Bradshaw reacts first, strikes it. I don't know if it's going in, because it looks like it's actually going to go straight towards a goalkeeper. But either way, superb block from Wilmot, and it goes out for a corner. But that front three, you considering the amount of minutes and yards they put in, they were just, again, outstanding. I honestly think we have the best defensive forward line in the league. There is no other team that will have forwards that work as hard off the ball as we do, and for as long. And to keep that mentality, you've got to think about it. You're a striker or a forward. Your job is to score and create goals, but you spend 80 minutes going the other way. Just as a human, that must be, it must be psychologically a bit difficult. But I thought they were outstanding yesterday, all three of them. And the one I want to call out in particular, who someone put in the comments last week, and it was a fair comment, that I maybe don't talk about Honeyman enough, but I thought Honeyman yesterday was outstanding. And between him and Coops or Cressy for man of the match, I don't know. I can't really split them. I might even give it to Honeyman. I thought he was just phenomenal. And the reason he was phenomenal was because we spent the whole game defending. As a forward player defending, Honeyman is fantastic. He's, because of all of the reasons we talked about before, he's engine, he's character, he's honesty as a professional. He just works so hard for the team. You can tell he's a top bloke in general. And he was just, he should be tested, because the energy throughout the game that he put in was just fantastic. He's also really good at winning free kicks. Because one of the things with Honeyman is his first touch isn't the greatest, and he'll take a touch and it'll kind of take him forward, but he's got just enough about him to get there first, which therefore means the other player brings him down. And he's really good at kind of winning these free kicks at vital times, just to slow the game down. And as a defensive winger, because that's, in my opinion, what he is fantastic. He was superb yesterday. And there was one bit that epitomised I think it was the 94th minute, and I'm going to recall this very, very wrong. So for those of you listening, you're like, that wasn't quite what happened. So, but by this stage, I was having heart palpitations. There was a moment where I think from memory, the goalkeeper and the defender were sort of playing it around, and Honeyman was just chasing back and forth constantly, and he ended up not only doing that, but he ended up winning a throw-in. And then I think from that throw-in, he chased it down again, and we ended up having a chance with Malone as well, and Honeyman was the player that arrived in the box. I can't remember exactly what happened. All I know is that somehow he found bursts of energy in the 94th minute that was just, for me, just epitomises what he's all about. And Rowett even commented on that in his post-match interview. So, fair play, Mr. Honeyman. I thought you were superb. And the subs all played their part as well. because this is I say a squad game. It's a very small squad, but it is a squad game. And yes, that's it really. We win the game, and it wasn't pretty, but it just shows you the camaraderie we have. And I just feel like everything's coming together at the right time. Even at the end, I think the fans are appreciating what Mr. Rowett's doing, and rightly so. I think the job he's done with this group is just it has to be admired. So Mr. Rowett's got his own chant now, and I've heard it sung before, but never like that. And it must have been the icing on the cake and the tonic for Mr. Rowett to hear that against a club that don't like him for what he did for them. So that must have been great for him. Is this a sign of a team that are going to get in the top 6? Well, look, I think we lost the likes of Jed. We lost the likes of Matt Smith. We lost the likes of Piercy in the last year, who take their footballing ability to the side. They're all leaders of this dressing room. And the fact that you're seeing this togetherness now, and even the new players coming in and commenting on how good the dressing room is, you have to give credit to, I think, 3 people. First one, Rowett. Second one, the leaders that have been consistent in that dressing room. So the likes of Muzza, Hutch, Coops, etc. I'm naming a few. And then the recruitment, because this is what I touched on earlier. We clearly recruit a certain type of profile of player. We recruit players that are fundamentally, first and foremost, honest professionals and workers. We will never recruit someone, in my opinion, that doesn't have that core ingredients, because that's what makes a Millwall player. What we have started to do, though, is bring those players in, but with a bit more quality on top, and Fleming's a perfect example of that. So the club deserve massive credit for that. And look, whatever happens now, I struggle to see how we're going to go again Tuesday against Luton. But you know what? Whatever happens, let's back the boys. And for those of us that are travelling to that game, it's just going to be proper old school football match. A terrible but great stadium, and a fitting occasion for it. So it was 2-2 last season there. I'd probably take that. Again, I think Luton are better away from home. So does that give us an opportunity? I don't know. But what a game yesterday. What a performance again. What a squad we've got. And I think all we can do is take our hat off to them. And I think you really now seeing this mutual appreciation between what the fans bring and then what these players are doing for us, because it's just fantastic to see. So another fantastic post-match interview to give on a win. And we go again. So look, I hope you've had a fantastic weekend. This one was a little bit longer. Apologies. I feel like I've rambled a little bit, but I think there's just some things that I'm so passionate about, and it's so good to be a Millwall fan at the minute. And I hope you all agree. So yeah, please do tell me what you think. Yeah, there's nothing more I can say. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Bye for now.